It's officially 2026, which means we are officially in the year that we host the World Cup. I don't know about you guys, but I could not be more excited for this summer. The US men's national team has had its struggles over the past 18 months. It was not all sunshine and rainbows when Mauricio Pochettino took over the program. There was a lot to change, a lot of complacency and laziness in the culture, and it took the better part of 12 months for him to fix that. But it seems like after a few downturns, a little bit of stirring the pot up, and really lighting a fire under our players, everything is back on track. Not only are we performing well, we look good as a team, but we look like we've finally got a formation and style that fits our players and gets the most out of each and every one of the players on the roster. It's not always about getting the best 26 players onto the roster, but it could be more about getting the 26 players that best fit what we want to do come June. We might not have the most talented players available to us on the roster. We may have some players who will rightfully be called snubs and left off the roster because they don't quite fit what Mauricio Pochettino and his staff want to do and what he thinks will get the most out of our players and push us the furthest in the World Cup. That being said, today we're going to look at who I think belongs on the World Cup roster come June. Before we get any further, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss anything as we inch closer and closer to the World Cup come June. So the questions that we have in front of us are: how are we going to line up, what players are going to be called in, and how are we going to get the most out of each and every one of those players? Well, the answer to the first question seems to be pretty straightforward and clear to most of us who have been paying attention. Ever since the September window, we have been playing a 3-4-2-1 formation and have realistically been on quite a heater ever since. Ever since we shifted to this formation in the second half against South Korea in September, we are on a 5-game unbeaten streak. And while it hasn't always been the prettiest, this 5-game unbeaten streak didn't even feel possible 12 months ago with how we looked and how we were playing. So that going forward is incredibly encouraging. Having a set formation and style of play is one very key factor to a team having success going forward. You can't be successful if you don't know who you are and don't know what you're doing. It seems that that has been worked out for us. The answer to the second question is a bit more complicated because we're picking 26 players to fit into a roster and a style, and everybody brings something slightly different and unique. So, who's going to bring the most to the table and who's going to miss out? Unfortunately, there's going to be somebody who gets snubbed, and that makes sense. There's always one, at least. So now I'm going to show you who I think Mauricio Pochettino is going to select for the US men's national team World Cup roster. And some of this could change due to injury, some of this could change due to form. However, based upon what we've seen so far, this is what I think Mauricio Pochettino is going to do. Looking at our goalkeepers, I believe that Mauricio Pochettino is going to bring Matt Freese, Jonathan Klinsmann, and Chris Brady. Are any of these players the rock-solid goalkeeper that we've had in the past? Absolutely not. Matt Freese is our out-and-out starter. And while he's not a player that raises the ceiling of this program, he has been very solid and he's taken hold of this position ever since Mauricio Pochettino gave him an opportunity in the 2025 Gold Cup. Not only has he taken hold of it, but nobody's even pushed him or challenged him or given Mauricio Pochettino a real reason to put somebody else in the back of the net. Matt Freese has stepped up when we need him to step up. Is he perfect? No, but he's played well. Jonathan Klinsmann and Chris Brady, I believe that they're going to be in this roster because Klinsmann has really cemented himself with his team in Serie B, and Chris Brady has done a lot of good things with the Chicago Fire. Yes, he's young, but he's consistently playing first team minutes and looking serviceable. Is he ready for the World Cup and to be a starter? No. There's a reason that he's the backup. But I think that both of these players have had their opportunity. They've been called into one camp. They've impressed enough to be called into another. So, while I don't believe that they're really ready to contribute, I think that they are going to be the ones that are called in here. Unfortunately for Matt Turner, I think he is going to be the first one left off of the roster. Not only has he not been fantastic in his club form since the 2022 World Cup, but Mauricio Pochettino hasn't called him in since the Gold Cup. and that's playing against him. I also believe that a little bit of psychology is playing a factor here. Just as Greg Berhalter left Zach Steffen off of the 2022 World Cup roster because that could create a little bit of controversy, I believe that Mauricio Pochettino could do the same. Having no real challenger and telling Matt Freese, you're my guy, you're the starter, that's going to go a long way for his confidence and can boost his game on the field. Moving to our center backs, I believe that we're going to bring Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, and Miles Robinson. Personally, I believe that Richards, Ream, and McKenzie are locks for the roster. All three of them have cemented themselves as part of every single roster since the Gold Cup last summer. I don't think that Trusty and Robinson are quite as locked into their roster slots, and some change can happen there. However, I think that they've done enough to say that they're the favorites to go over anybody else. Trusty really took hold of his opportunity and played well in that 5-1 win over Uruguay. And he's continued to play and get consistent minutes with Celtic in the Scottish Premier League. Is that league the highest level? Absolutely not. But he is consistently playing and he is looking good. The other player, Miles Robinson, I believe that he'll be there. He's been serviceable enough under Mauricio Pochettino, and he has enough experience that I think Mauricio Pochettino likes a little bit of what he brings to the table. No, he's not great on the ball. No, he's not the most dominant in the air. However, he has experience. He has in-game experience. He has athleticism and can recover and be a decent one-on-one defender. But his biggest liability is that he falls asleep at times and can lose his man. I think that his spot is at risk. Personally, I think that Noah Kai Banks is going to be snubbed and miss out here. He hasn't cemented himself in the roster. Mauricio Pochettino called him in September. He didn't get any minutes, and he was not called back in October. So, unfortunately, even though Noah Kai Banks is playing and playing well for Augsburg in the Bundesliga, I don't think that he's going to make it to the roster at this point. I would personally love to see him there, even if he's not starting, even if he's the fifth center back on the roster. I would like to see him there. I think that he's earned the spot, and it's enough to bleed him in. We have other players who can fill in at that last ditch center back role. Moving to our wingbacks, we're going to start on the left, and I believe we're going to bring two players here, Anthony Robinson and Max Arfsten. I think that Jedi and Arfsten are both absolute locks for this roster as long as they're healthy. A-Rob has recently come back from a knee injury that kept him out for quite some time, and he is immediately one of the best players on the Fulham roster in the Premiership. And he is immediately, once again, one of the best left backs in the Premiership. There's no way he doesn't make this roster if he's healthy. There's no way that he doesn't start if he's healthy. A-Rob is our starting left wing back. No questions asked. Max Arfsten, I believe, has a place on this roster. Do I think that he's the best defender in the world? No. Would I prefer to have a Serginho Dest be our backup there for defensive and offensive capabilities? Yes. Do I think that Joe Scally can be there? Yes. But Mauricio Pochettino has enjoyed watching Max Arfsten grow and play. He contributes on offense, and he's done a little bit defensively. Realistically, I don't believe that his minutes are going to be very substantial in the World Cup because of how dominant Anthony Robinson is. However, I think that he's done enough to earn that spot in Mauricio Pochettino's eyes. Moving over to our right wing backs, I believe that we're going to have Serginho Dest, Tim Weah, and Alex Freeman. I'm putting three players in this position because I believe wholeheartedly that Dest is our starter. I believe then that Tim Weah, he can be one of our attacking wide players, but I think he also serves a great role on this right wing. So it's going to be a little bit of situational play for him. And then finally, I have Alex Freeman, who has grown quite a bit over the last 12 to 18 months. I'm really happy to see that. I was not a big believer in him, even as far back as the Gold Cup. I think that he got beat on long balls and through balls in the air and on the ground, but his one-on-one defending has gotten better, his reading of the game has gotten better, and his athleticism has saved him and will continue to benefit him moving forward. Not to mention his massive game against Uruguay as well. 2 goals out of him, fantastic. Alex Freeman can also be another center back for us. He can be a right center back, and we can still have Serginho Dest or Tim Weah as a right wing back. That versatility gets him onto this roster. I think he's locked in because of his performances, because of his effort, and because of his versatility on that right side of our defense. Moving into our midfield, we're going to divide it into our attacking and defending midfield. So we're going to start in our dual pivot 6 position. And I believe that we're going to bring Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Tanner Tessman, Christian Roldan, and Sebastian Berhalter. I believe that Adams, McKennie, Tessman, if they're healthy, they're locks. They've all performed well under Mauricio Pochettino, whether it is at that dual 6 role or a little bit more of an attacking 10 role, as he has used Weston McKennie. But I believe we get the most out of Weston if we put him next to Tyler Adams and say, hey, you're more of an 8, but you have more defensive responsibilities. I think that Roldan makes the roster because he is a locker room guy. I don't expect him to see minutes, but he's proven himself valuable under Mauricio Pochettino. And Sebastian Berhalter, he may be a late sub as a set piece specialist. Again, that's where he's shown a lot of his value, along with his fight for the team. As we move forward to our attacking 10s, I believe we're going to have Christian Pulisic, Malik Tillman, Brendan Aronson, Gio Reyna, and Diego Luna. Pulisic, Tillman, absolute locks. I believe that Reyna has played himself into a lock in that last November camp as well. As long as he's healthy and getting minutes with Borussia Mönchengladbach, Reyna should be there. He is a great creative player who, realistically, I believe he comes off the bench behind Pulisic or Tillman, depending on what the game needs. Brendan Aronson has had himself quite the first half in the Premier League with Leeds. I think that he was always going to be there, but over the last 6 weeks, he has cemented his spot on this roster. And finally, I believe that Diego Luna sneaks in here over any other creative attacking player. He brings heart, he brings fight, he brings hustle, and a little bit of unpredictability. He has disappeared against some of our stronger opponents, but Mauricio Pochettino loves him, and he is a good player for this roster and for this team. Moving up to our strikers, I don't think we have any surprises here. We've got Fuller and Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, and Haji Wright. These 3 strikers have been the most consistent performers for Mauricio Pochettino. People are going to say, what about Patrick Agyemang? The levels are different here, guys. Balogun is doing it in the French league. Pepi is doing it with PSV and scoring for fun. Haji Wright is the most comparable, but Haji Wright can do things that Agyemang can't. Haji can combine. He can create for himself. Agyemang, yes, he offers that different look, that big body. Maybe we get ahead on the ball. Haji can do that too. Pepi can do that too. Balogun can do that too. I think the quality of these 3 players outdoes it and leaves Agyemang off right now. He is in that list of kind of those first 4 out because he did produce and do well for Mauricio Pochettino over the summer. But I believe that the quality that the other 3 players brings really just makes that difference. All right, guys, that's everybody that I have on my roster. As a brief summary, I think that we're going to bring in Matt Freese, Jonathan Klinsmann, and Chris Brady as our goalkeepers. Our center backs will be Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, and Miles Robinson. Our right wing backs are going to be Serginho Dest, Tim Weah, and Alex Freeman, with our left wing backs as Jedi Robinson and Max Arfston. Our dual 6s are going to be Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Tanner Tessman, Christian Roldan, and Sebastian Berhalter, with our attacking 10s being Christian Pulisic, Malik Tillman, Brendan Aronson, Gio Reyna, and Diego Luna. And our strikers up top are going to be Fuller and Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, and Haji Wright. Let me know what you think, guys. Is this a good roster? How far can this roster go? Can these players take us further than we've ever gone before? Maybe to a semifinal? If everybody shows up and we get a little bit of luck with a couple of bounces here and there from the opposition, I see no reason why this team can't really perform and make a statement in this World Cup and ultimately raise the level and the attention that the sport gets in the United States of America. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.